Okay, sorry for the shitty video quality. I'm not taking the time to set up a camera, even though I should, because I have one sitting right there that I could set up, but I don't feel like it. Well, before I get into this whole thing with Garrett and what he just posted on Instagram, um, which he only posted out of fear. Out of fear, he is scared to death that a phone conversation between him and Samson is going to get leaked by an anonymous source. Now, I don't know this anonymous source, never met this anonymous source, but needless to say, hearing Garrett's fucking shit that he says on there and his blatant goal of trying to do damage to my ternate market is obvious. And it's just fucked up. But I'm going to start basically from the beginning with why I don't like Garrett. The main reason is I can't stand those fake, phony Christian. I'm such a good person. Look at me. I'm such a good person. Yeah, because they usually aren't. They're just garbage human beings. And so that's I never liked that. Even when I saw him at prehistoric, he just seemed very fake, very phony. And I'm a pretty good judge of character, and like people don't fool me too often. So and judging by the amount of the insane amount of lying he's done, I would say I was made the correct call. But the other reason was he works for Jay Brewer. Um, by all accounts, the Tim that works there is a super nice guy, and I can appreciate Tim being a super nice guy, as I'm sure most of the people are that work for Jay Brewer. But in 2012, when I was saying fuck Jay Brewer is the biggest threat to the large constrictor industry there is, I got a lot of kickback. I got a lot of fucking pushback on that, and then I see, over, 11 years later, I see people like Shane Costello on a podcast talking about how he doesn't even follow Jay and blah, blah, blah. And that's great. And, I see MJ saying what he says about Jay, and that's great too. But fuck, man, 11 years ago, it would have been nice to have some backup when, when I was saying everything that everyone's saying about Jay now. And it's cool. But back then, it wasn't cool because he was making world's first at the price of hundreds, if not thousands, of retics getting produced in mass that led to, overproduction and basically a crash of the market. So, and I knew about the conditions of Jay's animals, and that's why I was saying the things I was saying about Jay back then. I can prehistoric pets is essentially Auschwitz for retics. That's essentially what it is Auschwitz for retics, and I don't make a distinction between Snake Hitler and people who work for Snake Hitler. So I automatically threw his whole staff in the "you're a fucking scumbag" category because you are a part of this. I can't. You don't. If somebody works for a fucking heroin dealer, you kind of don't throw them in the best category. And you work for somebody who makes a living overproducing animals to the point that they can't feed what they're producing properly, and they're sitting and rotting to death of a long period of time in a back room somewhere. I'm sorry. You're guilty. You are guilty. So that's kind of been my automatic dislike of Garrett, was the fact that he was the kind of person that would help a person like Jay Brewer. And then his total fake fucking phony personality. And then, we, all of us locality people, we kind of, did our thing for a while. And then I tried to get as much stuff in before the importation ban that I could. And Garrett wasn't really around for that. He didn't really participate in any of that. And then we get importation back because of that USARC lawsuit, and Garrett starts Reach Out Reptiles. And I was very opposed to that because I know he came from the Jay Brewer school of bullshit and overproduction. And he didn't give a fuck about those animals when they weren't worth anything. And I sold my pair of double het rainbow Indo caramel, or what people call now ocelot, double het ocelot Indo caramel, to fund getting in normal retics, just localities. And I knew what Garrett was going to do. He was going to start price gouging, and you know, and it was shitty. I see what he's doing now, just ridiculously overcharging people for super dwarfs, namely Karampa, charging $10,000 for Karampas. And I have, just over here is a pile of invoices that have Karampas on it. I'm the reason, one of the reasons that there's Karampas in the States. It wasn't Garrett. He didn't give a fuck about those animals. And I can show you the invoice. They were $350 a piece. Medus were $200, Calatos were $200, Jamps were $200. And and I just heard he charged somebody $25,000 for a pair of Medus. That one was an anery. And and that's just, I don't understand how you could sleep at night and rip somebody off like that. I don't understand how you can claim to be a good Christian and charge somebody $25,000 for a pair of snakes that are at best worth, if they're 3 years old, 2 years old, maybe 15,000, because you can at least breed them in a year and get your money back. But damn, and I just don't understand how somebody who claims to be this good Christian could fuck people like that, and then come in at the end of the game and use the ban on importation and getting back interstate commerce as a reason to do all this price gouging. So I just saw him as a very, very shady individual, watching what he was doing, especially knowing his background in locality retics, and he had virtually no interest in them when they weren't worth any money. And it wasn't until, ask Garrett what super dwarfs he was producing prior to Reach Out Reptiles. So ask him, I just posted a clutch, a super dwarfs I hatched out 13 years ago. Where the fuck is Garrett's pictures of him hatching out super dwarfs? Or no, it wasn't 13 years ago. Sorry, it was 11 years ago. No, it was 13 years ago. Yeah. That's not even the point. It's just like this guy came along, and that's great. You can't take it away from Garrett that he brought retics back to life. He did. He marketed well. He promoted well. But he's doing a lot of shitty things, namely overcharging people and kind of being, well, not kind of, but lying through his teeth constantly. We have a mutual friend, Andrew, that had started doing business with Garrett. And in 2018, Garrett came up to my house. Andrew had to stop here. My house is on the way. Garrett was going to meet him somewhere. And I was like, dude, I don't hate Garrett enough for you guys to go drive extra distances or anything. Come here. We'll fucking smooth things out. It's not liking Garrett for working at Prehistoric Pets is not honestly a good enough reason not to like anybody, but that's one of my flaws. I was like, all right, you guys are doing business. Garrett's really doing an awesome job promoting super dwarfs and all this shit. I had basically got out of super dwarfs because I made the decision to work with other localities. Andrew was still working with super dwarfs, and he was working with some of my ternates and stuff like that. And Garrett came up here in 2018. I thought everything was cool. He got some Halmaharas off me. He was very excited to see them. That somebody had actually produced some, and he got to see some really small ternates that had just some 8-foot, 7-foot females that had just produced clutches, and their babies had just hatched out. He got to see some really small retics that looked like they fell into the dwarf category. And I thought everything was cool after that. Only to come to find out that he's worked very hard behind the scenes to discredit my animals as dwarfs, which I don't really call my snakes dwarfs. I say they seem to fall into the dwarf category. I think the whole super dwarf and dwarf thing is nonsense. I just, it's just very irritating to see him going on and on about how I've been after him and I've been doing all these things. Well, I haven't been after him. He's the one that spent years lying to everybody behind the scenes about my animals. And then after a while, it didn't really work that trying to tell people the ternates were dwarfs. There's just too much data. There's actually more data on ternates than any other locality now bred in the States because of how much data I've collected and how much breeding I've done. So he starts doing this other thing where he starts telling everybody that I just basically called my snakes what I wanted to. Okay? I got in a bunch of snakes and just labeled them as I thought. And that was all from one story that I explained a long time ago about a slight mix-up on a couple snakes that got split up and then some had to come on a second shipment. It was nothing. And, when I started getting in stuff out of the northern Malukus, this was the first time we were really seeing ternates and stuff like that. And I would say, hey, this came in labeled ternate. So I have no reason to think I'm lying, that the importer or the farm they came from is lying, and I was just very honest about it and open about it. Something, if I ever did get something in and I questioned it, I said that, but I never just started changing names of anything. And then that didn't really work for Garrett. So he starts telling everybody this new story that he had talked to Cameron at Bushmasters, and Cameron told him the story where he never imported Halmaharas or ternates, and all the animals that I got came in one shipment, labeled as Northern Malukus. Now, keep in mind there is a stack of some of my invoices from those years, and they all have clearly stated, printed on them, Halmaharas or ternates or their jamp or Sulawesi's. I mean, like even the Bantayang Sulawesi's, there's the paper sitting less than 5 feet from me, and those were the Bantayang Sulawesi's that were used in his goat line. So that was just all bad information, and he actually told me that story on the phone. So this whole cutting people out started a while back. So I had kind of gave Garrett some shit for some stuff he'd posted online. The main thing I really went after him for, because I thought was very irresponsible, was telling people that it was a marble or something. It was 75% SD, and it had some Solaire in it. He said it would stay as small as 5 to 7 feet for males, and I fucking blasted him all over the internet. I was like, how the fuck are you going to make a bullshit statement like that when your average pure super dwarf doesn't stay that small? So that was like when like the war a little bit kind of got reignited, but that was just me calling out someone for lying. And I've always done that. If I see somebody in Retix saying some bullshit, I call them out on it, and I make sure, because I don't want to see people getting these fucking animals thinking they're going to stay 2 feet, and then they get really big, and then these people get injured, or then they got to get rid of them because they don't have any place to put them. One of the main things I've always called nerd out for is Kevin and his relentless stupidity in claiming OGS comes from Jampia Island when they're all come from East Java, and they all have East Javan traits, and they have yellow heads, and and Kevin's went so far as to say anthrax comes from Solaire, and anthrax is the most well-documented retic morph in human history, with the largest known natural range from south central Sumatra the whole way up to near the Aceh Peninsula. And recently 2 GCs were just caught in Sumatra, and Kevin's claiming that fucking came from Jamp. Or not Jamp, sorry, Solaire. And it's all just sales bullshit. But the problem is that none of these animals carry any of the polygenic traits that determine the phenotype look that's specific to those localities. So I call Kevin the fuck out on it. Just like I call Garrett the fuck out when he lies and says a 75% super dwarf is going to stay as small as 5 feet. Well, yeah, maybe if you don't fucking feed it. This is just nonsense. So, so anyways, like this whole cutting people out shit. This started a while back with a mutual friend of ours, me and Garrett's named Sean. Sean had bought a bunch of snakes from Garrett, and he'd never bought a male because Garrett and Rob, like, hey, if you're gonna sell through us, don't even get a male. You get these females, you raise them up, and we'll send you a male. Well, this was the first season. Sean was gonna start breeding, and he hits up Garrett. Yo, what's up? Time to get that mail. And Garrett's like, well, aren't you doing business with Rodney? Yeah, what's up? Yeah, we're friends. Like we're like me and you are friends, Garrett. What's up? He's like, well, don't you have stuff with Rodney's there? Yeah, what's up? What's the problem? Well, I can't give you a snake if you're doing business with Rodney. Sean's like, what do you mean? Like Rodney doesn't want any of your stuff. Because I sent a bunch of Phil crosses down to Sean to work with, probably about $15,000 worth of animals, and because he wanted to work with it. And I was like, yeah, if you want to take on a couple projects, it'll free up a little bit of space for me. And we're just trying to make snakes that we like. We're not, this isn't even like, this is me staying in my lane. Like this isn't even a competition with Reach Out Reptiles. And this is somebody who at the beginning of Reach Out Reptiles went over and helped Garrett for free, cleaned cages for free, helped him set up shows for free. And Garrett reneges on his supplying him with a male simply because he's got some of my animals. So I feel bad for Sean. I'm like, all right, let's get this straightened out. Let's fucking smooth this shit over with Garrett. Tell Garrett to give me a call. We're gonna do whatever we needed to do because Sean's whole breeding plan was based around this deal that Garrett would supply him with males to breed to his females that he bought all of them from Garrett. So Garrett gives me a call, and 3 hours later, that was an amazing conversation. We come to the conclusion that if me and Garrett have an issue with each other, we're to call each other. Okay, great. No, so I made a couple pot shots at him for his dumbass rolls on his US dwarf and super dwarf because he doesn't make any sense. There's literally thousands of dwarf size islands, that would have dwarf retics. But one of the fucked up things was, back to the story about Cameron, was Garrett tells me about, I'm like, Garrett, why the fuck are you telling people that I just fucking labeled my shit whatever it is? He's like, well, I talked to Cameron at Bushmasters in his calm fucking scumbag lying voice. And Cameron explained to me that he never imported anything labeled Ternate or Halmahara, and it was all just Northern Maluku and all in one box. I said, well, Garrett, that's kind of interesting because I've talked to Cam and he's never heard of you and never had a conversation with you about this. And he went so far as to tell me to tell any of my customers who have any doubts or questions concerning my animals and the legitimacy of their locality to go ahead and give him a call. Now, if you know Cameron from Bushmasters, that's not something you would expect. But I spent a lot of fucking money with Cameron, and he did me a lot of favors helping me get those animals in his shipments and get them to the farms and get them over here. And I also mentioned to Garrett, I said, if you thought that for a second, all you had to do was call me and I can send you the invoices that I have of these animals labeled Ternate, Halmahara. I said, plus your Bantayangs, plus your Karampas, plus your Kalatoas, plus your Medus, plus, it's like, it's unbelievable. See, Garrett doesn't want he acts like he just doesn't want my animals in his facility. No, he doesn't want my Halmas and Phils and Ternates in his facility. See, he's totally okay with Karma. I'm pretty sure I produced that snake. He's okay, like his Medus, these big deal anery Medus, that's my line. That old female he has, that's from me. His F1's het anery, I produced them. Every snake in his goat line gets traced back to me. The Bantayang, the F1s come from the Wildcats that Hippie Jonathan bred. The Wildcats came from me. The Super Dwarfs that he used in that came from Rick O'Neill. He bred a Wildcat Karampa from me to an F1 Kalatoa produced by me. See, some of the bloodline of his Solayers are wild caughts from me. Rob's has F2 Kalatoas that are my line. I really, some of this is Garrett doesn't want people to know that a lot of his shit comes from me. And this bullshit story he tells about how he can back all his lineage and all of that, I can tell you right now that's bullshit. Because right over here are the fucking invoices for those animals, and he's never once asked me for them. And he's never once talked to Cameron about them. Because Cameron's, because he made up this giant story, right? So after I tell fucking Garrett, I was like, Garrett, I talked to Cam. Like, what everything you just told me isn't true. Oh, well, I meant I talked to Cameron before. It's like, what the fuck? You like a ridiculous made up story versus I meant I talked to him. That doesn't equate. Like, what kind of compulsive, pathological fucking liar are you that you think within the same 30 seconds you can tell somebody this giant ridiculous story about how a fucking importer said he never imported anything as Halma or Ternate and it all came in as Maluku in one shipment, and then I call you out on it? And you're like, well, no, I meant I talked to Cameron before. What the fuck? What the fuck? I mean, I was on the phone with that asshole for 3 hours, and I just let him go. And in that time frame, I came away from that conversation thinking that there is something significantly wrong with Garrett psychologically. Like, to right now, like, I honestly think he needs psychological help. I do. So that was months ago, when I thought me and Garrett were cool again. And then, I posted a couple polls in his US Super Dwarf group saying, should we just change the name from US Dwarf and Super Dwarf group to the seven localities Garrett sells? So I got thrown out of that. And then around January, let me pull up my phone here, because because I've been texting Garrett the whole time, which I pretty much just text him like every other day and ask him if my Ternate's still at Samson's. All right, let me find Fuckface's number here. Okay. So this was going on for a while. So yeah, I talked to him sometime after November 10th, the first time, about Sean and that situation, which I'll get back to in a second. So I gave him a call. I think it was the 10th, and then I sent him another message. Why did I get kicked out in January 22nd? Why did I get kicked out of the Dwarf and Super Dwarf thing, which I actually know because of the memes. And then it was Sunday, January 29th, is when I sent him a message, said, hey, fuckface, I heard you sent my Ternate to Samson. This is verbatim, if anybody, not that you can read that, but I can post it if anybody would like to. Well, before I read this, I'm going to tell you what our conversation ended with the Sean situation. So he gave me and Sean this ultimatum. Sean could work with Garrett and get one of his animals on the condition that Garrett decided what got bred, and Sean had to either bring all my snakes back, or he had to buy me out. But he was allowed to make payments. So Sean just opted not to deal with Garrett because those are ridiculous fucking rules. So, it's like, he's got this weird set of rules and separate set of standards, if you're friends with me or you have my snakes or if we talk or we do business. So this was this was in November. Okay, so fast forward to January 29th. This is I bring my usual finesse, as you'll hear. Hey, fuckface, I heard you sent my Ternate to Samson. Why the fuck are you dealing with that piece of shit? I have pics and videos of his facility, and as soon as I have them all, a video is coming out. I'll be making a video apologizing to all my customers who invested in the snakes. They all know I don't deal with people like Bob J. Samson. They all know not to sell my snakes to retic puppy mills. That Ternate wasn't hurting anything sitting at your facility, and you said it to that piece of shit that's going to neglect it until it dies. You said, let you know if I have an issue. Well, this is a heads up. No response. January 29th. My next text to him wasn't until March 19th. And I said, you get my ternate back from Samson. And like a dickhead, because I think he was at Tinley. He says, wait, you own that animal? And I was like, I think you know what I mean. Is it still at Samson's, or do you get it back? I'll take that as a no. Enjoy the memes. So that's when the memes started. Fucking right after March 19th, long after he had sent this snake to Samson. And he says, now keep in mind, he's still lying to people about not dealing with Samson, never sending that snake to him at this point. He says, if you don't own it, you don't get to have it. You can't just bully people into doing what you want. I'm at Tinley working with snakes and real people in the reptile industry. My job. You want to make your job into thinking about me all day and whining online about it. See, I'm whining. I'm whining because somebody, out of spite, sent one of my animals to the most well-known animal abuser in the fucking reptile industry. But I'm whining. About it, then I guess you got to do you. I suggest you rethink your business model. Yeah, rethink my business model. Coming from a guy who spent $350,000 on a giant facility and filled it with fucking retics. Yeah, I need to rethink my business model. Everybody who's tried that has fucking failed miserably. So I've responded to him a ton of times, and that was the last time he ever responded to me. I like every day, like, dude, what's up with my ternate? Like, what's going on? And nothing. So I was posting memes about his behavior and everything that people I thought people needed to know about. I think people deserve to know that this guy who puts on this fucking second coming of Jesus act on the internet is behind closed doors sending animals to Samson, possibly your animals to Samson, possibly the animals you send to him on consignment are being sent or traded to Samson. And I'm guessing most of you don't want that. So I think you need to know that. So I make a couple memes, and I'll post them later as we go through the video. And he says I'm attacking his crew. Not attacking his crew. When you see the memes, it's just a factual statement. So that's when he hit up other people that do business with me and basically wrote them off and said that they couldn't do business with Reach Out Reptile or be on his Patreon, be part of his platform, all because I made a couple memes. But it's okay for him to send living animals to the most well-known animal abuser in the goddamn industry. So let's get into his video and break it down a little bit.
Actions that transpired a few days ago on MJ's podcast. Obviously not my finest moment. Surprised me live with all kinds of crazy stuff I'm not expecting.
Okay, so he didn't get surprised. Okay, first of all, if somebody asks you if you did something, that shouldn't be a fucking, like, surprise, like, oh, you're trying to take me down. No, that's not what that should be at all. If you don't feel guilty about your behavior, why would you be taken surprised by it? The question was simple. Did you send an animal to Samson? If Garrett didn't think that was wrong or didn't think he had something to hide, then why is he making this stupid fucking face right now? Why did he feel taken back by it? Why did he feel like he was blindsided by it? Okay, so that's all bullshit because he knows he did something shitty and something he shouldn't have done.
It didn't go too pretty, so I wrote this stuff down. First and foremost, I want to
It didn't go too pretty because he fucking just lied. He fucking tried to stonewall MJ, and then he just fucking lied a whole bunch about it. That's why it didn't go well. It didn't go well because you lied through your fucking teeth, Garrett. That's why it was a fucking train wreck. It was fucking hilarious. It was fucking greatest reptile train wreck podcast I've ever seen.
Publicly apologize to both Rob Roush and Samson Pruitt.
Okay, in case you don't understand that, when he was on the podcast, which I don't feel like taking the time to insert the clip here, but long story short, Garrett makes up this giant lie about his role in sending the ternate to Samson. He just makes up a fucking lie, like, after MJ keeps fucking questioning about him. And that was essentially that he just acted like a middleman, that Samson had called fucking Garrett, was looking for a ternate, And Garrett knew somebody who had a ternate, which was his breeder Rob, because who the fuck else does Garrett know with a ternate? Because Rob was here and bought it from me. It's, you know, I sold it to him, and you know, he was here because I've known Rob forever. So he makes up this giant lie, and everybody knows it was Rob's ternate. So Garrett makes it look like fucking Rob's dealing with that piece of shit Samson. Rob should have fucking broke Garrett's jaw for this.
After going back and watching that podcast again, I realized I did throw them under the bus. What I said in my response...
Yeah, that's a fucking understatement. Threw them under the bus? You mean you lied through your fucking teeth to try because you were embarrassed for people to find out you're sending animals to Samson Pruitt? So the guy who's supposed to be your friend and is making you all your money by breeding your snakes, you're just like, well, fuck Rob. We'll just say it was his fault.
Was not my intentions whatsoever. I'm not here to defend it.
That was exactly his intentions. So that's bullshit. What were your intentions if you make up a giant bullshit story and lie about it? The whole point of lying is to convince somebody of something that isn't true, and in this case, it's to make you look better and make Rob look bad.
Anything that was said, only to truly say that I am sorry for offending both of you, and I will use this experience. I already feel like I am.
Of course he does. He already feels like he's just doing great. I already feel like I'm doing awesome. I'm just doing fucking fantastic. Look at me go. Jesus Christ. Like, the level of narcissism with Garrett is fucking impressive.
These last few days to grow and try to do better in the future.
Why don't you just not lie? Why don't you just not lie through your fucking teeth? And better yet, why don't you just not deal with Samson? And, you know, why wouldn't that just be easier? Like, just to not send animals to a retic puppy mill so they produce even more retics to neglect? Like, I don't know. You could try that instead of just fucking lying and being a scumbag.
To address Rodney Boloch with his...
Bolick, but okay.
Questions that he put up on Instagram today, for anyone else that's curious... Samson and I talked about retics over the years, mostly locality stuff and interest things. It's always been very friendly. And several years ago, we did kind of a trade, not necessarily a direct trade, but I sent him some animals that I thought he would like. He sent me some animals that were about the same value that he thought I would.
He actually told me about that trade when he was here at my house. He was actually bitching about it. He said Samson owed him some money or owed him something, so he sends him a fucking quote-unquote pure Kalatoa, and he's telling this story. He's like, this snake was, he's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with this animal because it's so visibly not a pure Kalatoa. He goes, it was so obvious. I showed it to my wife and had her look at it and said, what do you think this is? And she could tell that it wasn't a Kalatoa. So, yeah, so even after Samson fucking burns him, he keeps fucking dealing with him. So, yeah, good call there.
Would like. Since then, the next time that we had any kind of transaction is where I sent him the ternate in question, which I shipped down to Samson. I did call Samson and offer it to him for free and shipped it out.
The reason he's telling you this is because Samson's such a weirdo. He fucking secretly records these conversations. So, rumor has it, after Samson accidentally posted that recording, some anonymous source managed to get a copy of it. Now, I personally would never record something like record a recording of that, because I know that's a violation of the Pennsylvania wiretapping law, and I would never want to break any laws. So it's not me, 100% don't have it, but supposedly someone who really likes me has it, and they're going to leak it all over the internet. But I don't know who that person is.
That snake did belong to Rob prior to the couple of weeks that I owned it.
Yeah, so why did Garrett own it? Okay, so this is the part of the story he's leaving out. The reason Garrett owned it is because Garrett told Rob he wanted it out of his facility. He didn't want, and that snake wasn't hurt nothing. It was like fucking 4 feet long. It was in Rob's office, just fucking hanging out, totally being fine. But Garrett doesn't like me so much that he didn't want Rob's personal fucking pet ternate in the same building as him. So he traded thousands of dollars worth of super dwarfs to Rob to get it, just so he could ship it to Samson for free. But is Garrett just being a nice guy here? What's the motive? Everything we do in life, we have motives, correct? We all have motives. Like if you don't drink water because you're not thirsty. You drink water because you're thirsty. You eat food because you're hungry. So what is the motive here? See, he wants to play this off like he's not a fucking scumbag, and that's exactly what he is. He fucking traded he thousands of dollars, worth way more than a fucking ternate, just so he could get and send it to a retic puppy mill. A retic puppy mill that we already know retic puppy mills are bad for the industry, bad for the reticulated python market, and it's to a retic puppy mill that's well known for being pretty shady and not taking care of their animals. And what does a retic puppy mill do with retics? They mass produce. Garrett knows that. Garrett knows Samson's a retic puppy mill. So why would you send Samson a ternate for free? Why would you what could your motivation possibly be to send Samson a ternate for free, who is a retic puppy mill? Oh, so he breeds the fuck out of it and produces tons of it and then fucking floods the market with ternate crosses to do damage to my market. I'm not even Garrett. Like, me and Garrett are like separate parallel fucking aspects of the retic industry. I fuck with my localities. He fucks with his localities. What he just did and what he just admitted to is such a fucking piece of shit scumbag thing to do. You know, it's just unbelievable the level of shittiness of his character. And he thinks he's so fucking smart that he can go on here and do this video and people aren't going to figure out, like, well, what's your motive? Because Garrett could not have just woke up one day and said, you know what? I'm going to send Samson Pruitt a free ternate for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I'm just going to do it. That's just what I'm going to do today. It's like, today I woke up and I'm just going to send free snakes to Samson Pruitt. No, that doesn't make any sense. So there was motive, and the motive was, well, Rodney doesn't like Samson. Samson's a piece of shit. He doesn't take care of his animals. I don't want this ternate in my possession, so I'll send it to fucking Samson, and hopefully he does his retic puppy mill thing with it and floods the market. Or who cares? I fucking hate Rodney, so fuck his snake. So, you know, maybe it'll just die there. So who cares? Like, this is your fucking golden boy right here. This is Garrett, the good Christian.
I don't work with the ternate locality, and
exactly, he doesn't work with the ternate locality. So why would he take the time to gain possession of it? He wants nothing to do with it. So why would he trade Rob what he does work with, Superdorfs, for a ternate locality that he wants nothing to do with?
I don't believe that snake is going to be abused in Samson's care.
Why wouldn't it be? Everything else is. Like, wait till you see the fucking pictures that me and multiple people are gathering. It's fucking disgusting.
If I truly believed that snake would be abused, I wouldn't have sent it to Samson or anybody else for that matter.
Why? Why wouldn't you have? Let's go back to motive again. I don't think did he not believe it would be abused, or did he just not care? Because that's two different things. Like, if you give somebody an animal and you say, I think you're going to give it a good life and I want it to have a good home. Okay. Can anybody with a straight face say, I think Samson Pruitt's going to give this snake a good home, so I'm just going to give it to him? What the fuck?
Whether you agree with that or not is completely your choice.
Nobody agrees with the Garrett. Sorry, buddy. Nobody agrees with that. Even a little bit. You are so transparent, it's ridiculous.
But I 100% own that it was my idea to send that to her.
This is the most honest thing he's ever said in his life. Like, this is probably the most honest thing I've ever seen Garrett Hartle say.
to Samson.
Yeah, actually, that was so honest. Let's play it back. Well, yeah, one more time. Because it might never fucking happen again.
Percent own that it was me, my idea to send that turnate to Samson.
Wow, Garrett. Wow. Once in your fucking life, you actually told the truth. But that's not what he said on that podcast that he was blindsided with, right? Blindsided. He said it was fucking Robin Sampson's idea, and he just was the middleman. He was so flustered by a question of, did you put a snake in a box and send it to somebody? He was like, no, I didn't do it. I was the middleman. Rob and Samson were calling me, and they wanted to do all this stuff. And oh my God, why are you attacking me with such difficult questions as, did you put a snake in a box and send it to Samson? I just didn't know what to do, so I just fucking made up this ridiculous story and lied. Okay.
I truly hope that he has success with him, has fun breeding him, make a lot of cool stuff, and I think he will.
I bet you do hope he does that, because the whole point of that was in hopes that he is successful to try to fuck with my market. That's why you did this, because you're a horrible human being.
Rodney, you've been gunning for me for years.
No, I've not been gunning for you for years, Garrett. I've been telling the truth about you. Every time Garrett goes on there and says some bullshit like a 75% super dwarf will only get 5 feet, I'm going to call him out on it. Every time he says any kind of bullshit, I'm going to call him out on it. He's no better than Nerd or Jay or Bob or Samson or anyone else. When I see them saying some bullshit, I call them on it, because I don't like seeing people get ripped off.
This is not new information. Nobody is going to be surprised about this.
But what am I gunning for him for here? What am I gunning for him? Like, what am I going after? Okay, my goal is to make sure people know what kind of person Garrett Hartle really is. And Garrett Hartle is the kind of person that would trade thousands of dollars worth of super dwarfs to get a turnate just to send it for free to Samson Pruitt, the most well-known animal abuser in the industry. That's what I'm gunning for. People to know what kind of character Garrett Hartle truly has. You know, and here's the thing. A lot of people send him his animals. Okay, what if he decides he doesn't like you one day? All right? What if you sent him your stuff? You know, and he just, what if you buy a snake from me and he gets mad? And you got his snakes, and you got your snakes at his facility, and he finds out we did business, and now he's mad at you. And Samson wants one of your animals. You think he'll send it to him? And if you hear that he sent it to him, you think he'll tell you the truth when you ask him? Look how hard I've had to press him to get him to come forward and tell the truth. This shit's been going on since January. And he spent months lying and lying and lying. And I've had to back him into a corner more and more and more just to get the truth out of him. It took Samson fucking up and posting a fucking phone conversation to put him in a position where he had to tell the truth. He had to come clean. And you want to send this guy your animals? You trust him? Can you trust him? Can you trust him to tell you how much he got paid for those animals? Can you trust him? Can you trust him enough to guarantee you're getting your 50% of the split? That's questions you got to ask for yourself. But if you're sending this guy fucking animals to sell, you're fucking insane.
While you did breed that turnate, it's not yours anymore.
Not saying it's mine. This is about principle. If you want to fuck with me, then you make a meme, or you pick up your phone and call me. You don't send an animal to an animal abuser. That's not the proper response.
At the point that you took money for the snake, you relinquished any ownership or ability to dictate what happens with that snake.
So he's justified in his behavior? See, this is where the breakdown really needs to be looked at here. Okay, I refer to it as my turnate. I refer to anything I produce as my animal or my this. I don't mean I own it. I'm just saying that came from me. It was mine. You know, and he knows that. He's just fucking playing semantics at this point. So let me ask this question. If Garrett sells somebody, a mutual friend, a fucking snake, and I trade that snake, and I send it to Samson for free. Let's say I get a hold of some Karampas, or better yet, I get hold, or some of the Medus, which it's all my line anyways. Let's say I get a hold of say I get a hold of an Anery Medu, right? And I call up Samson. I say, Samson, fuck Garrett. I got this Medu and I just want to give it to you. And you go ahead and you just breed it to everything and you have lots of fun with it. And you just produce as many Medu crosses as you possibly can. And you just flood that fucking market. I'll just sit back in the sidelines. I can't help you sell them because I just can't do that. But I'll sit back and laugh. I'll sit back and smile and enjoy the show. I'd be a huge piece of shit for doing that. And going on the fucking internet and saying, well, Garrett, you relinquished ownership of that Medu, so I'm totally justified in being a shitty human being and giving it to Samson. No, you're not off the hook because I relinquished ownership. That doesn't justify immoral behavior on a third. Relinquishing ownership of something doesn't justify the immoral behavior of a third party. And that's what this comes down to, is immoral behavior of a third party.
I would love to see you put as much effort into having a positive effect in the community with your knowledge base.
What knowledge base, Garrett? What do I know? Remember, I lied about all my shit. I made everything up. I'm a horrible person. What knowledge do I bring to the table? What positivity would he like me to bring after he's had done nothing but fucking bash me and lie about my animals behind closed doors since, well, a while? See, at least I say shit publicly. I don't go on my fucking little Discord and talk shit and spread lies and make up giant fucking stories about talking to importers and conversations that never happen. I don't do this stuff. I just put shit out there. So I don't play. He wants to talk about how he's not in the drama. What the fuck is he doing? I put everything out in the open so people know what's going on. I don't fucking hide behind fucking Patreon and private little fucking Zoom calls lying. I don't get a bunch of people together and we have a private meeting and then I make up a bunch of lies about Garrett's bloodlines of his retics. That's what Garrett's been doing to me. I don't do that to him. If I have a problem with Garrett, I send him a dickheaded text or I make a fucking funny meme. I put everything out there. He's the one that's been stirring this shit up. I fucking made nice in 2018. I made nice again in November. And I thought we were cool. I thought we were okay. I thought he could take a fucking joke of me making a poll on his fucking U.S. Dwarf and Super Dwarf saying, should we change the name from this U.S. Dwarf and Super Dwarf to the 7 localities Garrett sells? It's a fucking joke, Garrett. That doesn't mean you could like, oh, here, I'm going to take he fucking made a poll, so I better send his snake to be abused by Samson Pruitt. Like, what the fuck? That makes no sense.
As you do, attempting to constantly tear me down.
I'm not tearing you down, dude. If I tell the truth, it is not tearing someone down if you tell the truth about them. I cannot help it if you don't like the truth. Facts are facts. I don't care about your feelings. Stop being a compulsive liar.
I think it's especially uncouth that you use my staff to try to get to me. I'm not okay with that.
I don't give a fuck if you're okay with it. All you had to do was pick up your phone. And see, here's the thing. He keeps saying I'm attacking his staff. Oh, I'm attacking his staff. Oh, I'm hurting his staff's fucking feelings. Here, you want to see what these big fucking memes are he's so upset about? Oh, big attack that I had on his staff. Let me show you this. This is what he's so worked up with, and I'm, breaking out uncouth for here. All right, let me find it. Where the fuck are my stupid memes? Okay, here you go. Let me see if I can make that larger. Hi, I'm Joe from Reach Out Reptiles, and we do business with Samson Pruitt. Hi, I'm Hadley. You might remember me from those Garrett's where, from those videos where Garrett paid me to pretend the 2002 paper established dwarfism and retakes. That's a joke because that paper didn't establish dwarfism. Anyways, here at Reach Out Reptiles, we do business with Slither. Hi, I'm Thomas from Reach Out Reptiles. Just wanted to let you know we do business with Slither. Those are factual statements. So let me ask the question, what is the difference between saying, hi, I'm Joe from Reach Out Reptiles and we do business with Eric Lee, versus, hi, I'm Joe from Reach Out Reptiles and we do business with Slither? The only difference is nobody likes Slither and everybody likes Eric Lee. And Garrett doesn't want anyone to know they do business with Slither. Just like his employees don't want people to know they work for somebody who does business with Samson. That's not an attack. That is a factual statement. I can't help it that Garrett is embarrassed that he does business with Samson. I can't help it that his employees are embarrassed he did business with Samson. To be honest, I don't think most of his employees knew what he did with that Ternate. And the whole point of doing those memes was to let them know. I know they didn't. I think Hadley and Thomas were like, hey guys, we came up with this plan to fuck Rodney. We're going to send him a free Ternate. No, I don't think that at all. I don't think that at all. I don't think Rob or Joe had anything to do with it either. I think this was their shitty boss came up with this plan.
In closing, Rob, Samson, and anybody else that I hurt because of things that were very poorly said on my behalf on that MJ podcast.
They weren't poorly said. You made up a giant lie and said you acted as a middleman because Samson called you, said he wanted to turn 8, and Rob told you he wanted to sell his. That wasn't poorly said. That was just a giant lie. Okay? That's not poorly said. That's just a blatant fucking lie. So, like, maybe we need to... Dude, this dude needs fucking counseling or something. I don't know. He needs help.
I truly apologize. Hopefully we can move past that. You guys are adults. We can all make kind of our own decisions. But I'm honestly too old for the high school drama.
I'm too old for the high school drama. I just traded much more valuable snakes to get a snake to send it to an animal abuser to irritate another person. But high school drama is so much better than this because high school drama is typically name calling, not supporting animal abuse. It's much better to be into high school drama than it is to send animals to somebody who is a horrible person. So being into high school drama would be a step up from Garrett's current behavior. And I think it's important to know the real reason he did this. And some of it's between the memes and stuff today. But I said I was going to call him out on his live stream for lying about Rob, because it actually did bother me. He lied about Rob because I've known Rob for a long time, and Rob is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And the idea that somebody would use Rob like Garrett did to take the heat off himself, I mean, that actually did bother me. Like, I was actually I'm not ever really mad at Garrett because I know he's a scumbag. And, scumbags do scumbag things, so that's whatever. But I don't know, to see him throw Rob under the bus like he did, somebody who's been helping him out for so long and been making him money and is the reason fucking Garrett's kids have fucking food to eat. Like, it did bother me. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't give a fuck about Samson. He can go fucking kill himself. But I thought that was... fucked up. I really thought that was fucked up what he did to Rob.
So, yeah, let's start a new hashtag. Hashtag stop the drama. We could do ST.
Okay. So let's say you want to stop the drama with me, right? Everyone knows that I kind of play a character on the internet. Like when anytime there's a something that I think needs brought to everybody's attention, I do something very specific. I act kind of ridiculous and I make ridiculous memes and I kind of post them everywhere. So here's the thing that's most confusing about this. I don't think Garrett thought I was going to find out what he did with that ternate until after Samson was producing ternate crosses. And you know, if you don't want drama, and everybody accuses me of drama and shit talking, but it's not shit talking when it's true. It's not drama when you're bringing attention to an issue of somebody lying or misrepresenting animals or abusing animals. That's just bringing to light things that people get upset with and they don't really want to look at. And but if you don't want drama with me, then why would Garrett, if Garrett wanted to avoid this shit with me, why hasn't he just called me? Why hasn't he responded to any of my fucking text messages? And most importantly, why did he do what he did in the first place? He had to fucking know I was gonna fucking say something. And if you don't want drama with me, I make videos about Samson. I make call-out videos with about Samson. Everyone knows I don't like him, and I think he needs blacklisted from this industry, and I don't think anybody should deal with him. And you say you don't want drama, and then you send one of my animals to him? What the fuck?
D. Thomas, does that stands for Stop the Drama, right? We'll see you guys tonight on our not live video.
Which you can't have because of me, because I was going to call him out. So here is, you can go and look at my Instagrams to see the memes I made today, which is the real reason they're not doing live, and the real reason he put this out. But a few days ago, I sent him this text. I said, just checking to see if Samson still has my ternate. I said, so what's it like to be such a shitty person that you go on a podcast and lie about your own employee and throw them under the bus? I gotta ask, was it worth it to trade those snakes to Rob so you could send that ternate to Samson for free? And I said, that was an interesting phone call between you and Samson. Let's hope it doesn't get leaked. I'd never leak it because it's a violation of the PA wiretapping law, and I don't break the law. But let's hope some anonymous source isn't figuring out how to put it all over the internet. I said, that was pretty good sales pitch using Samson's ego against him to get him to think he could really make some nice stuff and have a stronger market than I have. Well done. What kind of weirdo secretly records phone calls? So that's the real motivation behind this video from Garrett today. Once again, it's bullshit. Once again, he's fucking lying. Once again, he's lying about his motives. And as long as Samson has that ternate in his possession, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. There's 8 billion people on this planet. And I'm going to do my very best to make sure every single one of them knows what Garrett did and the kind of person he is. So he can put out videos like this all he wants. As long as that fucking snake is in Samson's possession, I just assume Garrett wants me to keep behaving the way I'm behaving and keep making memes about him and keep making videos about him and keep making memes about his employees and keep showing everybody the pictures of Samson's facility and letting them know that this is who Garrett does business with. So that's what I'm going to do.